Welcome, I'm Lizzie and this is a fast upper body and core workout. So we don't have any equipment on this one, so you don't need weights for this one, and we will still get into these areas quite a bit. So please join me on your mat. Okay, so as always, having a blanket or a towel to pad your knees will be useful, so feel free to grab that if you don't already have it. Let's sit nice and tall, take a big inhale, and sigh through the mouth. Just preparing, bringing ourselves into the moment that we're gonna take care of ourselves and this is our time. So bring your hands to your heart, set your intention for your practice. Maybe the word is focus, dedication, self-love, self-care, healing, whatever it is, let it come to you. And breathe that into your bones. And then take another inhale and shake off any clutter. Whew. Maybe find any tension in the neck, the jaw, the shoulders. Release that out. And we're gonna join in a downward dog to begin. So come into a gentle downward dog where you're not trying to get your heels to the floor, but you're just giving yourself a nice stretch. So the sensation is stretch and not like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe because I'm doing too much. And sway the hips side to side. And then I'm gonna ask that you turn your heels in and your toes out to whatever degree feels good and continue to go side to side with the hips. You might feel this opening and stretch in the side body as well. And then go slightly pigeon-toed, so this comes from the hip joint, not the knees, and side to side. We're starting to weight our hands a little bit more to bring some blood flow into the arms. And then turn your heels straight back and walk your hands back to your feet. Take a gentle fold, maybe bend the knees. You can move your props to the side out of your way and give some gentle length into those hamstrings. And we're gonna start to kick up the heart rate and a little more blood flow. So create a bend in the knees, roughly 90 degrees. Make sure the hips are higher or the same height as the knees, not lower, not down here. And then we're gonna begin to lean, press into the hands, and press off. So you're actively drawing weight into the hands and then pressing up and back into that squat. So just because we're focused on the arms and the core doesn't mean our legs won't work today, as you can tell. And your heels will lift as you lean forward and they'll land as you press back. The elbows can be pressing more straight back or a little more to the sides, depending on how you want to work the arms. Just make sure your shoulders don't come up into the neck. And then we'll hold and press all the way up to standing, reach up, and exhale, bring the hands to the heart. Deep breath in, and sigh it off, shake it out. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, walk all the way forward into your first plank pose. So we're getting upper body and core at the same time here, breathing. Organs are drawing towards the spine gently without over-rounding, definitely not arching. And then from here, you can stay or begin to come to the forearms and then the hands. You might alternate which forearm leads each time, or you might do the same one every time because, hey, this is hard work. This can be done on the knees, of course. So feel free to come to the knees at any time and draw your organs towards your spine there. 3, 2, 1, child's pose. Come off the hands, reach back and get a nice stretch. Fully inhale and exhale through the nose. Nice. From here, we'll move into a side plank. So shake the arms out a little bit here. And for more work, you're going to stack your ankles. For a little bit less work, you're going to put the top leg in front and stagger, okay? So find which one works for you. I'm gonna stagger today. Top arm might be up, hand to the waist, breathing here. So we're thinking of the core like the core of an apple, not just like, oh, the surface of our abdominal wall, right? So we're bringing ourselves into even lifting that lower hip a little bit and breathing here. If you would like more work in the core and the arm, especially that lower arm, you will lift and lower the pelvis. That's going to bring a ton more work into this. So again, you might just hold it or put the lower knee down for a little less challenge. 3, 2, 1. Come on down. Have a seat and roll the shoulders out. Shake it on out. Find your breath. Inhale. Sigh through the mouth. Okay, so we'll come to the other side. Remember, you might be stacking or top leg in front, staggered. You're making like an L shape with your ankles, reaching up or not with that top arm, and possibly, so we held this a little bit longer, so let's hold it first. And then if you want to add the lift and the lower, you definitely can. That's really gonna bring a ton more work into the obliques, side body, and into that lower shoulder. Again, you can hold the pose right here and still be getting great work. 3, 2, 1, and come on down to a seated position of your choice, and let's shake that out. Check in with your neck. When we do those things where we put a lot of weight into the shoulders, a lot of times we take the brunt of it in the neck. Let's let it go. All right, bringing ourselves into our boat pose. So this might be where you are holding, working the core. Beautiful. If you want to add a little lift in the legs, you can add the hands there or not. And maybe you'll add some movement. So I always like to be playful and also challenging in the movement and change things up and move in dynamic ways that the body might not be used to, even if you're just changing the movement because you have to balance differently. You don't always have to just hold a pose. 3, 2, 1, and come to seated. Find your breath. We're gonna move into the arms, more into the triceps here. So take your fingers and turn them towards your hips. Bend your knees, feet onto the floor. Feet are about hips distance apart. Now we're gonna rise into a tabletop. This is all working the shoulders and the upper body already and working the posterior chain through the glutes, the hamstrings, all of that in the back. Now, you can stay with this, or you can begin to bend the elbows back, lowering the hips and coming back up. Up and down. So you can rotate the head of the shoulders more forward, or you can take the elbows more back. So I want you to see the difference. This is working more under my shoulder blades in the front of my shoulder by taking the head of my shoulder more forward, or I bring the elbows more back. They accomplish different things. And if this is just tough and you don't know which one you're doing, as long as you're working and the shoulders feel okay, that's good. Really getting into those triceps, taking the elbows more straight back than to the sides. 3, 2, 1, back into boat. Breathing here. And then option to come into holding on to the feet or the ankles with the knees wide. And then lifting your heart here, working that posterior chain. Option to take a balancing squat pose where you take the feet wide, maybe you're holding on to the shins or ankles or feet, and breathing here. Still getting some hip opening as we work our core. Remember, it's the core of the apple, so even the paraspinal muscles are lighting up. Now we'll cross at the ankles and come back into our plank pose. If that's just a bit too much today, come into downward dog or child's pose, please. Please choose the right option for you. And then from here, we'll do shoulder taps. So if you take your feet wider, that will make this movement more accessible because it's like having a kickstand. And if you take the toes closer together, it's harder not to waver side to side, but you try to keep the torso facing the floor rather than coming side to side. So you choose what feels good, or what works rather. Challenge feels good in some ways. 3, 2, 1, downward facing dog. In our downward facing dog, you're going to have the option to stay here. You're going to have the option to lift one leg and put it down, and the other leg and put it down. Just coming into the hips differently, hamstrings. One more each side, because we are putting weight into the hands. It's an inversion of sorts. And then from here, we're going to shake the earth. So the elbows are going to come slightly to the side, and you're trying to shake the earth as if you could push the entire planet away from you as you shake. This can be done on all fours. Shake, 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 drawing the organs towards the spine, or downward dog, shake, 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 and breathing. Try to keep your breath through your nostrils instead of through the mouth. If you need to get it through the mouth, that's fine too, but just try to keep it in the nostrils. Probably getting tired here. 3, 2, 1, child's pose. Roll the wrists out. Keep your breath nice and thorough through the body. From here, we'll come onto our backs and begin to lift with our fingers interlaced behind the head, and we're going to do a reach with one leg and a bend the knee in of the other with a possible slow rotation of the torso side to side. So you're interlaced behind the head, and you're not rolling onto the shoulder blade on the opposite side. You're keeping the shoulder blades lifted even though you're having that slight turn. Back and forth. Stay with it. If you ever need a break, you take that break. 3, 2, 1. Center, reach the legs up, slow pulses, chest up. Your knees don't have to be all the way straight at all. You can always even put your feet on the floor. 3, 2, 1. Come on down with the torso. Bring the arms alongside of the body, and we're going to scissor back and forth with the legs here. So you're keeping the legs pretty close. You're pointing the toes gently, and you're moving one leg in front and the other leg in back. You're going to feel this likely a lot in the inner thighs as well. And when we think about the core, we want to think about the hips too. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Draw the knees in, let them separate, and let the relaxation happen in the groin here. Locate your breathing. All right, now from here, we'll go ahead and come into the upper body with classic push-ups. Either the knees are down or they're not, or they're down for part of the time. I like to go wide with my push-ups so that when I come down, my arms are roughly 90 degrees, my elbows are coming towards the sides, okay? So what you probably don't wanna do is something like this, where your hips are coming up, you're swaying that low back, and you're not really putting a lot of weight in the arms. If your knees are down, allow your hands to walk a little more forward, allow the pelvis to come forward, draw the organs towards the spine, and see if you can go from there. The more you take your hips back, the less weight that will be in your arms, and that's fine, but just don't sway the back, okay? So find your push-ups, and again, the feet distance apart that feels good to you. Find the depth and the pace that works for you. 3, 2, 1. Child's pose or downward facing dog. If your arms are really tired or you feel too much going on in the wrists, please take the child's pose. Breathing here. We have an option to add some kick-ups. The first modification would be alternating leg lifts, working the glutes a little bit here, and still having weight in that upper body. If you want, you can add little hops where you're coming into momentary handstands. Even if your body is not straight up, which it's not supposed to be on this, above you, it's still a handstand. You're standing on your hands for a moment in time. So allowing the pelvis to travel up and a little forward as you hop. 3, 2, 1, and then come on down to a seat. I'm going to come into a malasana, breathing here, or any seat of your choice. Deep breath in, and let that go. Not too much longer. We're coming back into our tabletop. This will be a little different. Coming into the tabletop, first option will be to tap opposite leg. Well, actually, first option is just to hold here. Then you might tap opposite leg. And then if you want, you can start to lift. This will put a lot more weight in the upper body, and it will cause a lot more work through the torso, so through the core. And you can alternate taps here. Take it slow. And then if you want even more, you will lift and touch the toes. So that adds another element of balance, really works the shoulders, and again, the entire cylinder of the torso. 3, 2, 1. Lift up into that table. And exhale, slowly come on down. Last boat pose. Breathing here. And whatever you want to do in that boat pose, maybe bringing some of those alternating twist movements from before with a higher up torso. 3, 2, 1, and come up to seated. And guess what? That is it. So let's just take a little stretch. We worked those pecs, especially in those, what were those called? Push-ups? So let's open up and round. Give the spine some love. Open up. Oh, this might be a good one to put the blanket underneath the sitting bones for. A little more stability. Nice and loving all those areas surrounding the heart. And leave on and open, and then release that down, roll the shoulders a few times, and let's just give more space to the jaw and the neck again. Oh, it feels good to just nurture the neck, especially after that hard work with the upper body. And bring the hands together to the heart. I recommend possibly doing the 15-minute, I guess there's a 15-minute before bed or the yummy stretch. Feel free, if you want to add some nice lengthening movement to this practice, you might go press play on something like that. Well, my dogs are telling me it's time to go, so namaste, everyone.